and welcome to the launch of an amazing new animal show hosted by Katie Hart. That's me. I used to be a professional wrestler.
Look at this! Olympia suddenly electrified, came alive.
But I've also had the honor of working with a variety of animals, from showing horses and dogs to training tigers and wolves to retrieve fake fish from movies. Being an animal trainer, behaviorist, and communicator has allowed me to see the world through the eyes of the animals. Oftentimes I get, oh, you're like the dog whisperer, but not really. But you've done all this training and stuff too, you know. Caesar's amazing. He's a dog behaviorist, which is absolutely fabulous, and he's opened the door, you know, for the level of awareness for people to really kind of take what I do into more consideration. You know, I was a Hollywood animal trainer. I owned an animal company for 14 years, did lots of movies, television, commercials, you know, live performances and, you know, that sort of thing. And I've been hearing for years the call for more family-oriented shows. There's very few people, I've found anyway, in my own environment roaming the planet that don't connect with animals, even if they don't have animals. The concept for my show originally began several years ago when I was an animal trainer, actually working on set. And what I noticed, I'd bring my animals on set, and you know, the celebrities that we were working with, the producers, the directors, and other people, we'd walk in and everybody was, you know, really rigid and tight, and they'd see the animal and everyone would just begin to melt. You know, there'd be these smiley faces. They'd go from these hard, rigid, you know, lawyer faces, sorry any lawyers out there, but they would, you know, to these childlike, animated kind of a deal. I started to think, you know, is it possible for us to, you know, remain in that place of happiness most of the time? You know, if not all of the time. But I began to think back then, you know, if there were more shows out there, more television shows and more movies out there that were heartwarming or humorous, you know, focusing on things of the heart, which is nothing but good, then think of how not only your own personal world would change my own world, but everyone around me that I would touch. I mean, you smile at somebody, what happens? They smile back, right? And then not only just the individual reality, but what would happen globally? And is it possible to create that space of a more happy planet, you know, without drinking Kool-Aid? You know, I mean, so I believe it is possible. So that's how the concept of the show began, out of this growing awareness that animals have this amazing ability to open the hearts, inspire, enrich, and completely transform our lives. One segment is retelling stories about how animals have impacted our lives and dramatically changed them at one level or another, including stories about service dogs. I also train service dogs, basically custom make them according to the person's needs. And of course, I'm so excited to be sharing my unique animal training techniques in our in-home portion of the show. But that's not all. There'll be fun tricks that you can share with your furry friend as well. There's this other segment too that is going to be, and I really believe this can definitely shift what's going on in our planet. You know, we have a lot of animals on the planet, everything from threatened to endangered. We have these actually extinct lists, but there are some animals that are only alive now in zoos. They're extinct in the wild. But basically, I think a lot of us will give to those causes, but I don't think many of us stop to think what that animal's dwindling numbers on our planet means to us on the other side of the world. In other words, some of us don't think that an animal over in Africa, the black rhino, now on the endangered or basically extinct at this point, how that would affect us. But the fact is that if something happens, it's that ripple effect, the butterfly effect that most of us know about. You can't have something like that dramatic happen and us not be affected by it. So we're going to go into some stories about that. We're going to be bringing awareness of what's going on in the planet through the eyes of conservation, as well as talking about, you know, the environment and how that's affected, but also giving helpful tips and things and directing people where we can restore harmony and balance to what is going on.
I'm waking up to ash and dust. I wipe my brow and I sweat my rust. I'm breathing in the chemicals. I'm breaking in, shaping up, then checking out on the prison bus.
Oh, also be joined in this adventure by my two human daughters, Noelle and Jessie, as well as my co-host, the ever so increasingly handsome Montosaurus Rex. I invite you to pledge now in helping create the world that we all know in our hearts is possible. I send blessing and shine.